Do you ever wonder how we've gotten so complacent? Does the idea of AI trouble you more and more every day? Does the idea of society's obsession with AI making things easier and easier for us as human beings make you want to go the opposite direction? Well, in today's video, we're going to talk about one way that we can do that and how we can kind of push back against this onslaught of AI. And my name is Jake. Welcome to The Crafted Life. We are built on purpose and shaped by faith. And today we're going to be talking about AI and one way that we can push back against it. I think it's really interesting just listening to a lot of different podcasts or even YouTube videos about AI. And there's a lot of, let's say, positive out there as far as start AI or learn AI and make lots of money, or lighten your load, or make things go 100 times faster, or whatever that might be. And it just sounds honestly like an infomercial. Like, I'm not interested in any of that. And I'll start with this. There's a caveat. I think there's a place for AI to help like get ideas going. And some of that, but in general, the feeling I get in my experience with what I see in culture hasn't been good. And I think they're kind of in three main areas. I'm sure there are more, and I'd love to get some of your input on that on this podcast down below. But I'm going to concentrate on just three for now. And then we're going to talk about one specific, which is behind me here, that I think is a good place to start kind of pushing back, and why I think that is. I think one is it's too easy in that it can give you a quick solution, or write a paper, or give you something, an article, so quickly that there's no thinking, there's no wondering, there's no contemplating, there's no like what's called cognitive load on your mind in just trying to process an idea or sit with an idea, or even maybe, let's say, go away from an idea and just let that kind of marinate in when you're in the shower or driving in the car, have other things come to mind when you're maybe not even thinking about it. I think being able to wrestle with ideas or wrestle with concepts or write a paper that might be difficult, it is difficult for me, let's say, to write. I think that's something, for example, I need to work on. But going to from something like ChatGPT and say, write me a 1,000 word essay on this particular subject using my tone, which high schoolers and college students are doing way too often, does lots of things. It doesn't help them to think. It doesn't help them to understand the content. It doesn't cause them to wrestle with the content. It just gets something out of the way so they can get on to something else. And I find that that's not something that is really based in reality. And again, on this channel, we talk about four things. We talk about reality, we talk about durability, we talk about relationship, and then we talk about legacy. And I think when it comes to reality, right, this is called artificial intelligence. It's not really based in reality. It's based in data, right? It's based in what it can go out and kind of grab and pull back, and based in trying to understand human beings and what they want, maybe. But at the end of the day, it's still not something that came out of the human mind. And I think that's what makes us unique as people, as human beings, as created beings and created by God, that we are able to think about things, wrestle with things, consider things, come to conclusions in a certain way that makes sense, that becomes something that we can hang on to, and then we can actually come to know that what is true, right? I don't think AI helps us to do that in the short run. And I think having us think about things, consider things, ponder things. I just listened to something the other day. It was a Ken Coleman clip on YouTube where he was talking with a guest about, we don't even ponder things anymore. For example, like if we're having a conversation with friends and we say, well, what about this? What about this particular subject? Or what about this thing? and just to even wonder about something. We don't even wonder about things anymore, right? We just grab our phone and Google it real quick and find the answer and find the solution. We don't sit back and say, let's just wonder about that particular thing. And I think there's something even to that, just doing that with a group of people and just trying to come up with a solution on our own. There is something that is human and real and tangible about that I think just putting that off on AI and say, hey, figure this out for me, I think that removes humanity. And I'm really not interested in removing humanity. I'm interested in building in more into humanity. And I think this kind of goes into the second part of even now Elon Musk with Grok and these characters that you can have, or even talking and or hearing about having a virtual girlfriend or boyfriend, probably, I don't know. People wanting to marry their virtual girlfriend or boyfriend and thinking that it's real. There's nothing real about something that thinks it knows you from a computer program that you have been talking to. It's still synthetic. It's still not a real thing. And again, the more we just kind of go the easy route, go with what is convenient, go with what is feels good, the more we never grow up. It's almost like we're Peter Pan with the Lost Boys, where we just never grow up, right? And I'm really not interested in that. I'm interested in teenagers actually becoming men, maturing, and taking on responsibility, taking on challenge, and not just going with whatever is easy. And even as men, even as a young man, or sometimes even people my age, we're still like, it's like we're putting it off, and we're don't want to take for that responsibility to take charge, to be responsible, to engage with what is real. Instead of we want to go with something synthetic. And I guess I'm just tired of the stuff that does not satisfy, that is not real, that does not fulfill the human soul. And I think that's part of it. And I think the third one that I've listened to recently was sometimes AI just even gives you an answer. It's programmed to give you an answer, and it's not even the right answer. It's not even thinking about it, and you'd start challenging, like, well, I don't think, like, I've heard another example where this person, and I'll link this down below, you can find this and listen to it, it's only 2 minutes, but he asked, I don't know which chatbot, I heard this quote from Lincoln, and I think it's from there, where was it? And it gave a response, and he says, no, I don't think that's right. And then the chatbot said, you're correct, it's not right. It's actually this second thing. It says, no, it wasn't from there either. And third time gave him an answer, and this is certainly where it's from. And it was, again, the wrong answer. And I guess putting my trust in a computer that says it knows the information, sometimes it doesn't even know. And that's not even what even being wise is. It's just being able to search through data and kind of chew through it a little bit, and then trying to give us an answer to the best of its ability. And sometimes that's not even the right answer. And so I think just really going with, where can we go to answers and really find those things? And this is what's behind me. I really believe that it is starting a library. I think having physical books, having them in your possession, having maybe other friends that have books or have a library as well that you can even play off of and use. I think it's so crucial. And I really kind of want to dive into this a little bit on why that is, and why I think books and having a library, having something tangible and concrete in your hand is just so valuable. And it's just so countercultural to kind of where we are today, where everything is fast, quick, and the answer is right at your fingertips. Having books and having information does so much. Now, for this episode, I really want to concentrate on kind of the hands-on books and why I think they're so valuable. But this does step into other areas of culture, as far as history, as far as culture, as far as politics, and we'll get into that a little bit. But I think the value in having concrete information that's in written form, I think it's so important. I think, one, it's always something you can reference back to. You can underline it, highlight it, read through it a couple times if you don't understand it. I think there's so much good content out there, and I think that having that at your fingertips, I think is great. I think one publisher that is really great is Taunton. They've put out a lot of stuff. They do a lot of things for, let's say, fine woodworking, fine home building, but they have a lot of other published books that are really great as far as construction or woodworking or that kind of thing. They also have books on other subjects like gardening and some other things that are very well done, very well put together, very well written, and there's something that you can really hold on to. So I'm just going to go through a couple examples here. Like, for example, this is one that I've really enjoyed. This is called Practical Design Solutions and Strategies. Like, for example, if you want to build a table, how would you do it as far as proportions and size and layout and that kind of thing? Before you even start the construction process, what would you do? This is a really great book. This is pretty new. This is one by Tag Fried on jointry. And it's a little older book. I believe it's from the 60s. And I picked this up at a thrift store for like $3. And the value in this book that I'm able to use and reference back to is just a total gold mine. I love that when it comes to hands-on skills, there are some things that have changed, and there's a lot that really hasn't changed over time. And this is from the 60s. I have other books from the kind of 1940s, 1930s. Being a teacher, you do find these books like this one. This one's called Handwork in Wood. And this is a really good one. This is, I believe this one was written in 1941. But I just, being a teacher, sometimes you get lucky and find all kinds of stuff. It's really well written. And you find that obviously we have more modern tools that can do things a little bit faster or do them a little bit quicker. But the concepts of how you do, let's say, some woodworking really hasn't changed over 100, 200, 300 years, to be honest. It's like, how do you put wood together? How you're going to make that durable? How you're going to make it last? And so this has been a good one. This one, and I know stuff's online, but this one's called Mechanical and Electrical Equipment for Building. And I've gotten a few of these from my dad. He was a mechanical engineer, and he saved all of his college books. So I grabbed at least a box of his stuff. And here's the other thing. You may not understand everything that's in a book. And that's okay. I think having it as a reference material and maybe even having to chew on that and wrestle with it and maybe not having a complete understanding of what's inside it necessarily, I think that leaves a lot of room for still growth and an understanding, and grab it. Like, it's great to understand, how do I draw a technical drawing? What's the formula for this certain ratio or for this volume or for whatever I happen to be doing? They exist, they're out there. And I think it's just such a great reference. For me, I believe that it's also really cool just to see when you grab some older books from the 60s or 50s or 40s or 20s, even to compare what they did back then to how we do things now, and just to have that, almost that timepiece or that relic or that point in time to see how things have changed, maybe a lot or a little bit, or really haven't changed at all. To have that breadth of just not, well, this is just what Google gave me, but have that breadth of knowledge from, this is how they used to do things back in the 60s, or how they used to do things in the 30s, or do things in the 1800s, or whatever it is. It's just amazing to kind of work through that and decide, how do you want to do things? How do you want to build things? When it comes to history, I've purchased some older history books as well. I've found some, and I find these typically at estate sales is where I find a lot of books, and especially here in Minnesota. Maybe you're probably not going to find a lot maybe in Los Angeles or maybe in particular areas where you live. But I think creating this community, and maybe even on this video showing where we found particular books or older books that we really like, or even new books that are being published. I know there's Morrison Tenon Magazine, for example, would be one that's really well done. I have not purchased one. And I know they're a little bit pricey, but I think they're worth the money when it's something that is done really well and that becomes an investment in you and in your library. I think building a good library is crucial for just so many reasons. I think another big reason is today everything is so fast. Everything is so dependent on what culture is saying. Everything is dependent on what kind of is popular or not popular today. And having books to reference back to that, where you can say, this is just how it's done. This is how it used to be done. This is how it's done today. This is how I think the direction I'm gonna take, and not being necessarily so swayed by what's popular, what's expected, that kind of thing. I think it just gives you room to breathe in a way, and to be okay with not doing it the exact same way everybody else is doing it at this point in time whenever you're watching this, for example. I think in tandem with that, having lots of options. Let's say, how do I build a mallet for carving or for using with a chisel? And I just type that into Google and what it would give me. Or I put that into ChatGPT, and what would it come back with? Having a library and resources that I can kind of pick and choose from for what style I like, for what the use is going to be, and just having those options, and not necessarily just going to whatever Google's going to tell me or ChatGPT is going to tell me. Like, I feel more freedom and more creativity to say, yeah, I'm going to try this one, or I'm going to try that one, and not just being dependent on what comes up on that first page or that first suggestion. I think it's just so much more liberating and able to be more creative and kind of push that creative envelope into, like, that's what they did in the 20s, and why am I not just doing that today? Why did it all of a sudden change when this was working just fine? And then just putting your touch on it. I think that's just something amazing to have that available. Now, I am going to be honest, this is an investment. I think anything that is worth investing in is going to cost you something, just like everything else. But I think it's worth it. I think it's even worth getting a whole set of encyclopedias. We bought a whole set of encyclopedias from an estate sale for $25. And we don't use encyclopedias anymore. Some of you don't even know what an encyclopedia is. You know what Wikipedia is. But encyclopedia is what you referenced way before computers were available, or reference books. Going to estate sales, that's another one. You're able to go through someone's curated books and find things that they thought were important. So, for example, if I go to a house at an estate sale where I knew they were a woodworker, I'm looking through their books as well. I'm seeing what they valued. I'm seeing what kind of they held on to, and that's a great place to buy books. You can find really good titles. You can find older titles, and you're usually going to find them at prices maybe, I don't know, $2 or $3 a book, which is just an amazing price. Another place I find books is at secondhand stores or at thrift stores. I would go through where people have donated, they got them out of their house, and I found some really great books. Even recently, I found one on construction of homes during the colonial period, and why did they build houses the way they built them, and kind of the reasons behind them. Where were rooms located? Where do they build the fireplace and the chimney? How do they do all this stuff, and what was the purpose behind it? And that just fascinates me that you can still find that information, because it's interesting. As I kind of look back in history, I think about, I'm trying to do more, let's say, agriculture or farming. And so a lot of that really wasn't written down in the 1800s, 1700s, because that's just what everybody did. It was common. So there wasn't a lot of writing about it necessarily, for example. I found some good books on that from 1800. One is called 10 Acres is Enough, and that's still published. You can buy that today. That's a great one. There are a few more out there where you see this kind of glimpse back into history and why they did, again, why did they do the things they did, and getting some insight into that from someone from 150 years ago or 250 years ago. There's so much wisdom to be taken from what's been in our past, where we just kind of concentrate on what's current, what's new, what's modern. And there's just so much we can glean that I've kind of either not known about because I'm ignorant, or just didn't know existed, for example, and really trying to bring that back. And again, that's another part of this channel that I'm really trying to bring back, is What are things that are durable, that have been kind of tested by time and you can depend on and understand and implement and will still work today just as they did 10, 20, 30, 100, 200, 300 years ago. And that's just an amazing thing to say, I can do that too. I can be a part of that. And so I think that's one thing that you can do. I think one last resource I want to mention as well is eBay. You can get first editions of books that are very old books that are really nice. I think having original editions and having primary resources, I think that's such a treasure that we can still have that. And there's a lot of that out there. And some of it is very expensive, to be honest. And I'm trying to invest a little bit more in that because I'm more interested in what kind of, how did we get here, for good or for ill, right? I think it's good to know the good things that got us here. I also think it's good to find those primary sources that really cause the problem and name it and point to it and have those resources in those primary documents that we can point to and say, this is what was being said in the 30s and how we got here and now why we're in the situation we are today. I think that's key. So, you know, you can go down a rabbit hole when it comes to a library, but all that to say, if you haven't started a library, if you're not a big reader, and I'm really not a huge reader, but I see the significance in having hard copies. There's something about having that page in my hand. There's something about going back and having that as a reference. There's something about even sometimes just that smell of an old book that just really gets me excited and encouraged and like, what is this going to be about? What did they write about back in 50 years ago, 100 years ago? What do they think? How are they kind of thinking about things? And kind of comparing that to how we think about things today. It's just something that's really exciting. So I'm going to post a PDF of a book that I really like. You can find it on eBay occasionally. But this is a book on woodworking that was published in the 20s, I believe, and I'm actually use it for making a mallet for my advanced wood class I really enjoy. So I'm going to leave that down below for you. I would love to see or hear other books that you're interested in or that you find have been a real treasure that you think would be great for other people in their library. I think that would be super encouraging. So put those below for me, please. And just stay tuned for the next video. It's coming out soon. We really appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next one.